Hello Year 9, we're nearing the end of Chapter 1. We have two more concepts that are important to understand. And the first of these, 1K, simple interest. So we're just talking about interest, and it's quite literally simple when we compare it to the second type of interest we have to learn now. What is simple interest? Well, we're going to denote it with a capital I. And it's the amount of money you earn when you put it in the bank or you invest it. So let's say you put $20 in the bank and came back a year later and you had $25 in the bank, you earned $5 interest. Principal is another term we need to understand, and the principal is the amount of money you start with. It's the amount of money that you put in the bank or that you start to invest. So it's your starting amount. The interest rate is the percentage interest rate that you're going to get given to you, normally by the bank. And N is the number of time periods. It could be the number of years, it could be the number of months, it could be the number of days, depending on what type of question we're dealing with. For you, it's typically going to be in years. So here is our formula for simple interest. It's a formula you need to learn. It's interest equals PRN. Now, sometimes you could also see it written as interest equals PRT, where T is for time. Sometimes you could see it written as interest equals PIN, where I stands for interest rate, little I, not capital I, because capital I stands for the interest that you earn, little I stands for the interest rate, and N is in lowercase and it stands for the number of years or the number of months or whatever we're talking about, the number of the time period we're dealing with. Another thing we should be aware of is that A stands for the amount you end up with. So when you put money in the bank and earn interest, the amount you end up with comes from the amount you started with, the principal, plus the interest that you earned. So the amount you started with plus the interest you accrued gives you the full amount that you end up with. And if you see the letters PA, that stands for per annum, which means per year. And as I've been talking about, our time units must be consistent with our interest rate. So we need to be careful. And we'll talk about that as we need to with examples. Another thing you should be aware of, 1 month is 1/12 of a year. 2 months is 2/12 of a year. 3 months is 3/12 of a year, and so on, all the way to 11 months is 11/12 of a year, 12 months is 12/12 of a year, which is also 1 year. So let's get into the examples. Monique borrows $5,000 for 3 years at 8% per annum flat interest rate. Whenever you see the word flat interest rate, it's another way of saying a simple interest formula is the formula we're going to be using, the simple interest rate formula. So how much interest is she charged? Well, before I do that, I'm just going to write down what I know. Do I know what P is, the amount that she's going to invest or borrow in this case? Yes, I know what's her starting amount. P is a starting amount. It's $5,000. Do I know how long she's doing this for, the number of years? Yes, it's 3 years. Do I know the interest rate? Yes, it's 8%. And 8% could be written as 8% on your calculator, or you could write it as a decimal, 0.08 if you want. That's the way we actually prefer to write it when we're in year 12. Works out a whole lot more beneficial to do it that way in year 12. What about the interest that you earn? Well, that's how much interest is she going to be charged? That's what we have to find. So let's write down our formula for simple interest. I is equal to P times R times N. We know P, we know R, we know N, so it's just 5,000 times 8% times 3, Put that into your calculator, and she earns $1,200 in interest over the 3 years. I'd say that she actually pays $1,200 in interest because she's borrowing the money, not investing it. So what that means is she wants to borrow $5,000. Well, she has to pay the $5,000 back, plus she has to pay back another $1,200 in interest. That's what she's charged for taking out the loan. So how much does she have to repay? She has to repay the amount that she borrowed plus the interest that she was charged, which works out to be she's going to pay back $6,200 over the 3 years. Let's go to example 2. For each of the 3 loans in the table, we need to find the simple interest and the amount repaid. So let's deal with row A first. What's the simple interest if you borrow $1,000? Oops, sorry, loans. So it is. So we're borrowing $1,000 at 5% for 2 years. So $1,000 is the starting amount, the interest rate is 5%, the time is 2 years, and I want to find out how much interest she's charged, or someone has charged. So the simple interest is P times R times N. I know P, I know R, I know N. I put them into the calculator. So the interest charged will be $100. For part 2, what's the total amount that's got to be repaid back on the loan? Well, you've got to repay what you borrow plus the interest that you were charged. So that's going to be the $1,000 plus $100, which is $1,100 needs to be repaid for part A. Let's go to part B. In part B, we've got a principal of $800, an interest rate of 4.5%, but the years is a bit different because it's 2 years and 3 months. So we know the principal is $800, we know the rate is 4.5%, but the time is 2 years and 3 months. How do I write that? I don't want to write it with months involved. It needs to be in years because the interest rate is per annum. It's in years as well. So 2 years and 3 months will become 2 years, and the 3 months is 3/12 of a year. So it becomes 2 3/12, which you could cancel to 2 1/4 if you like, because 2 years and 3 months is 2 1/4 years. And we need to find the interest. So we know PR and N now. 800 times 4.5% times 2 3/12. We put that into the calculator and we generate $81 as the amount of interest you would be charged if you wanted to borrow $800. For the second part, how much is going to have to be paid back on this entire loan? Well, you're going to have to pay back what you borrowed as well as the interest that was charged. So you've got to pay back the $800 plus the $81 that you were charged in interest, which means altogether for this loan you're going to pay back $881. Well, let's go and look now at part C. The principal, $2,700, the interest rate, 3.9% per annum, and the time is in months. I need to change it to years because the interest rate is per annum, it's in years. So, principal, $2,700, interest rate, 3.9%. How would you write 40 months? Well, you could try and figure out how many years it is, but you could just write 40 over 12 if you like. To convert months to years, you just put it over 12. The interest rate is what we are looking for. So we know our formula, we know PR and N now. So it's 2,700 times 3.9% times 40 over 12. Put that into the calculator. And for this loan, you are going to be charged $351 interest. How much do you have to pay back? Well, you always have to pay back what you've borrowed plus the interest. So you'll have to pay back $2,700 plus the $351 interest. So to take out a $2,700 loan, you're going to have to pay back $3,051. Righto, let's try example 3. Michael invested $2,000 at a simple interest rate of 4%. For how long must he invest it in order for it to earn him $200 interest? So he wants to have $200 interest that he's earned. He starts with $2,000. The interest rate is 4%. Let's have a look at it. We know the principal is $2,000 because that's what he's investing. That's what he starts with. We know the interest rate is 4%. We don't know how long it is. And we know that he wants to earn $200 in interest. So if we write down our formula, now it's a little bit different. So I have to put, where I see the I can put 200. So I get 200 equals P, which is 2,000, times R, which is 4%, times N. Now I can use the calculator to figure out what 2,000 times 0.04 is. And that's $80. To get N by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 80 because N is being times by 80 and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Divide both sides by 80. It's going to cancel on the right hand side, which means N will equal whatever 200 divided by 80 is. That's 2.5. So N stands for the time, so it's 2.5 years. So it's going to take Michael 2.5 years to earn $200 interest. If the interest rate was a bigger number, he would earn his $200 faster. If the interest rate was a smaller number, he would earn it slower. Let's go to example 4. Kermit buys a television which is advertised for $2,400 on terms from a shop. That means that you can get a loan on it. He agrees to pay a deposit of $400. Then he pays $95 a month for 2 years until he has paid the TV off. So how much is he going to pay back altogether? So $9,500 in 2 years. Let's see. The amount that he pays back is going to be the $400 because he paid that on the TV, and $95 is going to be paid back 24 times because there's 24 months in 2 years. So there's his deposit that he paid and 24 payments of $95. So let's put that into the calculator. He's going to pay $2,680 for a $2,400 TV. Why does it cost more? Because he was charged interest, because he was actually given a loan scenario, because he's making payments every month to pay it off over 2 years. Why does it cost more than the advertised price? Because interest was included with his monthly repayments, because it was like a loan. How much money could he have saved if he paid the advertised price? Well, he could have paid $2,400, but he didn't have it, did he? Instead, he paid $2,680, so we do $2,680 minus $2,400. He actually paid $280 more than he needed to, but he took out the loan because he obviously didn't have the money up front. What was the annual simple interest rate expressed as a percentage of the original amount borrowed? Now, this is a tricky question here. He was charged $280 in interest for 2 years, which means if he was charged $280 for 2 years, if I halve that, he was charged $140 interest each year. And if I want to figure out what interest he was charged, the annual simple interest rate, I can now go, what's his yearly interest over the amount borrowed, and calculate it from there. The interest for 1 year was $140. He borrowed $2,000 because he paid a $400 deposit. He didn't borrow that. He had the $400, which means that he only owed $2,000 left, because 2,400 minus the 400 is 2,000. Times it by 100, and that means that he was actually charged 7% interest rate, a 7% interest rate for this question. Now I'll go through that with you again in more detail when I'm back if you need, but that's the process for that question there. It's time to do some questions. Do the best you can, enjoy, and we'll discuss any problems you have later. Bye for now.